there is going to be 13 through 10, and I'm going to go through 13 through 10 and go 13 is Sam Houston, who ended the season 2-10. Not good. Not good this season. I think we projected them to do something. I think I had them going 7-5, something like that. I kind of had the same for UTEP, who ended up at number 12. UTEP's number 12 at 2-10. Rice, what a season! I had Rice going 4-8. I think they were the worst team that I had. I had them ranked 13 to start the season, and they ended up going 5-7 and not being qualified for a bowl game, along with number 10 Baylor, who ended up 5-7. Now, let me tell you what, Baylor might have the hottest seat next year. They might have the hottest seat. I got to be honest with you. I think Dave Aranda they have already come out and said that Dave Aranda will be back next week. They've already said that he's coming back. I think there's some AD issues that their AD stepped down. He was on the CFP committee. A lot of stuff like that. I don't know what's going on there. So I figure they're just going to stay with Aranda, but his seat is hot. He can't go 7-5 next year. He's going to have to move this up, and they got a lot leaving. So I don't know. Dave Aranda may be the hottest seat going into next year. Obviously, UTEP and Sam Houston will probably have some semi-hot seats with what their seasons are, but they're still young in their tenure. Scotty Walden's in his second year right now. Phil Longo is first year right there. And, of course, Rice is happy with Scott Abel. Scott Abel did a good job in what he did at Rice with the way he's able to pull talent. Okay, let's go and we're going to go to number 5 here. We're not going to go to a top 5 because I think that there's only 4 teams to really discuss moving forward who actually have a chance for CFP. So we'll go to 9 to the number 5 position. And that's UTSA, who's 6-6, another disappointing season. I thought UTSA would be 7-5 or 8-4. But they end up 6-6, and they'll be bowl bound. So did Texas State, who kind of rebounded from a very tough start. Texas State comes back and ends the season 6-6. Houston, one of the most surprising teams. I thought Houston would be number 12 or 11 at the beginning of the year. Willie Fritz, what a job that Willie Fritz did there, who came back and got Houston. His name's been mentioned on some jobs that opened up, but those jobs got filled here recently, so I don't think he'll be going anywhere. And SMU, disappointing for SMU. That loss to Cal with Rhett Lashley, really disappointing there. They could have ended this season 9-3. I had them going 10-2. They lost to both TCU and Baylor, which I did not see this year. And ended up winning some games I didn't think they would. They beat Miami. Excuse me there, guys. Sorry about that. And then TCU, who finished strong. TCU kind of reminds me of Baylor last year. Started out with some bad losses, some good wins, and then ended up really kind of pushing and solidifying the end of that season and getting into up to 8-4 and getting bowl eligible. We'll see where they end up after this. Sonny Dykes, that seat's got to be warm. A few years ago, Sonny Dykes was playing for a national championship, albeit they did not fare well in that game against Georgia. But very good season, I'm saying not very good, a good season to finish the way they did, to finish 8-4. I think I had them going 8-4, to tell you the truth. I need to come back and look at those preseason predictions and kind of see where I finished out there. I didn't put it on this one because I think most of this show, we got to talk about the top 4 teams and what's going to happen there and who I think has a legit national championship shot from the state of Texas. Are there some teams? I think there are some teams that have a chance for the national championship. But I've got my opinions on that. I have been argued with over and over, and that's fine. I get argued with on that, and I kind of enjoy that. I like getting proven wrong. I like bookmarks. I like calling me out. That's what I want to hear. They're just opinions here. I try to take an unbiased look, although I have a bias. I've got ties to Texas with my son and all of that, but I legitimately look at this, look at strength of schedule. I look at who finished where, and that's the way I kind of see things and where they would play on a neutral field and who would win. There are differing opinions on that, and you can change my mind. There are a couple teams on here who won't like it, and you can change my mind. easily by going out and doing what I don't think you can. Now, I'm the guy that said Peyton Manning would be a bust in the NFL. So can I be wrong? I can certainly be wrong. But let's go to number 4 first in our top 4. What a season for North Texas. What a season. They're going to lose Eric Morris. He's going to go up to Oklahoma State with Gundy being fired. But what a season. Really, really impressive for Eric Morris to solidify himself as a hot coach. His name was mentioned all across the country with some of the SEC jobs. I think he just sees a better opportunity there. I think Drew Mestermaker is going to follow him. What a job with Drew Mestermaker. Look, they're 11-1, and they're playing for an American Conference championship. They're playing Tulane. And we're going to go over, should they be in the CFP a little bit later, because I think the winner of that game should be. I think that's your G5 at-large bid. I think should be North Texas, and I just think it should be North Texas. Right now in the AP, North Texas is ranked number 20. Tulane is ranked number 21, so it's very hard for me to not think that one of those two should get in. Now, James Madison's ranked ahead of them in the AP, and I'm not a fan of that. I don't think James Madison deserves to be there. Who is number 3? Here's where all the argument is going to start. And this is where teams are going to get a little sideways on it, and I want to explain where I am. Number 3 for me is Texas Tech. Yes, I don't think Texas Tech is above Texas or A&M. I don't. And it's not necessarily Texas Tech fault. And everybody's going, well, you're a Texas homer. That's why you're doing that. Let me tell you what. I don't hate Texas Tech. Joey McGuire is somebody I know. I've known him since he was working with the FCA, and he was a coach at Cedar Hill High School, which was right down the street from where I am. If I have a bias against anybody more than anybody, it's A&M. As a Texas ties I have, A&M is the school that I have more of a bias against, and I've got to be that way. I think what hurts Texas Tech is the Big 12. When the Big 12 lost both Oklahoma and Texas, who, let's be honest, kind of middled their way at the end. Texas had a good run their last season. Oklahoma kind of has scuffled and come back this season and been a little better, but they got some big questions too. The Big 12 was left with a big hole. They didn't have a glaring team that was legitimate national championship contender, in my opinion. Look, Texas Tech ran through the Big 12 like X-Lax through a widow woman. Got to be honest with you. They ran through it good. They lost to Arizona State. That was a bad loss. Yes, Baron Morton was down, and it was their backup quarterback. But Arizona State fell down to, a 7-5 team is where they're at right now. And, yes, that loss isn't as bad as the Florida loss, like everyone likes to call out for Texas. But you have to go back. When you get to this spot right here, you have to go back to who on a neutral field is going to be picked that way. And Texas Tech is going to – you guys are going to argue with me back and forth that Texas Tech is better than the University of Texas. And you're probably arguing that they're better than Texas A&M University. And you can argue that, but here's my argument against it. And here's where I go with it. Texas Tech has one of the best defenses in the country. Is it the top defense in the country? No, it's not. Is it a top 10 defense in the country? Stat-wise, yes. Probably yes. They've got some amazing athletes there, but I go back to look at Texas Tech, and I go, okay, who on Texas Tech defense can go and start for the two schools ahead of them right now? Who on the defense starts? Does Texas Tech have anybody that starts for Texas or starts for A&M? Well, you can argue Rodriguez, who's amazing, who, by the way, should be a Heisman finalist, in my opinion. That guy's just – but does he start against Anthony Hill Jr., the linebacker that Texas has? Does he start against Torian York? Does he start over them? I don't think so. He probably plays a lot, and maybe they move him to a different linebacker position there. There are two linebackers in those systems. Or, I don't know. He plays a lot, and sure, he's on the field a lot, and he probably plays ahead of Trey Moore or maybe LaFau. I don't know. I just don't know it. Do they move him to the edge? Is he fast enough on the edge? That's it. You got Bailey, who's the sacks leader, an unbelievable Bailey, who's done well for Texas Tech. Does he start? Is he an edge rusher? Does he replace Cassius Howell, or does he replace Colin Simmons? I don't know. I mean, he plays. He's probably on the other end, to tell you the truth. So that's two legit defenders who are amazing for Texas Tech. But Texas Tech also hasn't been tested by a really good offense, that's balanced with the running game and those defensive backs. None of the defensive backs for Texas Tech, I think, start for either Texas A&M or Texas. That's just my opinion. Then you go to the offense. This is where Texas Tech has a glaring problem. Well, John, look what they've done on offense this year. They have scored at will against no good defenses. They just haven't played any good defenses. I don't care what you say. They haven't played anybody like an Ohio State. They haven't played anybody like a Texas or Texas A&M or a Georgia, who's an amazing defense. Look who else. Look at Alabama's defense that's kept them. Oklahoma's defense is the only reason they're in the college football playoffs. And when you go with that and you look at that, you have to go back and look at Behren Morton. He's got some talent. He's got some wide receivers who have put up some numbers. They've obviously got a running back who has done well on the running game, but they haven't played a good defense. So what happens against these smothering defenses with Texas A&M, Texas, Alabama, Ohio State, and who else? Go down the line there and the list. Indiana has a good defense, but I don't think Indiana's defense. We'll see. We can see what Indiana does this week. What happens? What happens when Texas Tech goes up against a defense that is going to shut down the running game immediately? You're not going to have a running attack. You're just not. Yes, you'll break off a couple of runs, but your running attack, Texas Tech, I don't see them rushing for over 100 yards against any of those top 5 defenses out there. I don't see it. So you're going to be dependent on Behren Morton. Well, what does Behren Morton do under pressure? Well, let's go back and look at some history under pressure. Who's the last time he played one of these defenses that was really good? Well, they played Texas a couple of years ago when Texas won the Big 12. Behren Morton was the quarterback then. Yes, they are more talented right now than they were in 2023. Remember, Joey McGuire beat Steve Sarkisian in Joey McGuire's first year at Texas Tech. He beat him that year that they were trying to get going. That I think it was Sarkisian's first year or second year. And it was Joey McGuire's first year for sure. And Texas went up to Texas Tech and got beat. And then the next year, Texas kind of all came together. That was the Quinn Ewers' first year. He really solidified. It was Quinn Ewers' second year. He really solidified himself and got into it going there. And then what did they do to Texas Tech? 57-7. Now, Texas Tech didn't have a defense back then. That's fine. It wasn't as good as their defense now. But you got to go back to that offense. Texas had a smothering defense back then who just smothered and made Behren Morton try to beat him. And Behren Morton passed for about 89 yards and 3 interceptions, no TDs. They just smothered Texas Tech. Texas Tech is more talented for sure. And they can prove me wrong. And if they do, I'm going to hear about it. You guys are going to just pound me with it. That's fine. That's fine. And I'll eat crow. I'll do an entire Texas Tech show wearing Red Raider black and white and doing it if Texas Tech gets to the semifinals which, by the way, Texas Tech is without a doubt a college football playoff team. Texas Tech deserves to be in over the University of Texas in the college football playoffs. I'm not even arguing it. There's no way to argue it, okay? But are they a better team than Texas? They're not, in my opinion. Are they a better team than A&M? They are not, in my opinion, a better team than A&M at all. They're just not. Are they a better team than North Texas? Yes. But would North Texas play them good? I think so. I think North Texas would play them good. North Texas can score some points. Now, the problem is North Texas defense has improved. But again, now you're going to the American Conference, which is also a very weak conference. And so then you got to look at what they did in the American Conference. And then you go, is that a big mirage for North Texas? Probably so. North Texas is going to, if North Texas beats Tulane and gets in that 12 spot, it's the greatest season in North Texas history, and they're going to get rolled. They're going to get rolled. Does Texas Tech get rolled? I don't know that they get rolled. Some teams would roll them for sure. but they're going to lose by 2 scores, I think, against a really good against those top 6 teams in the CFP. I think Texas Tech loses by 10. I think it's low scoring than we thought, but I just think that when you're putting all of it on Baron Morton against those elite defenses with cornerbacks who can play man-to-man with your wide receivers, and then you're going to put pressure on Baron Morton. I think that's where – now, Texas Tech can surprise me, and I hope they do. There's nothing I want more than to see A&M and Texas, 2 teams that I think Texas is better than in a lot of aspects. I would love to see them in the semifinals. I would eat so much crow on that, but I don't know that either one can. And if there's one that can, it's going to be A&M, in my opinion. A&M, with that loss to Texas, might have a chance to go for a national championship. They have a balanced offense and defense, but Texas laid out a blueprint for them, in this win this last week. But for Texas Tech, great season, 11-1. I think you're going to roll BYU again. I really do. I am not high on BYU. I know so many people that are high on BYU. I am not. And by the way, let me be very clear. I don't think BYU is a team that's worthy of going to the CFP. I just don't. If they beat Texas Tech and go to the CFP, there is no way, in my opinion, you leave Texas Tech out. Then that is the only way that the Big 12 gets 2 teams in, is if BYU wins. And then I would lobby for Texas Tech to get in as an at-large bid if they lose to BYU. I will lobby for that. And the reason I will lobby for that is because I have to look at the body of work also and roll in what they did. And you're playing a team twice. It's hard to beat it. That's what Taylor brought up. Taylor and I, the guy that runs Fanatics View, a great guy, one of the most knowledgeable sports fans there is. Taylor and I have known each other for years. He brought me over here to do this. We have gone back and forth arguing. It's been a lot of fun. Him and I get on the phone and argue. Who do you think about this and that? Taylor's a smart dude, and he loves BYU, and he's going to be at the game covering it this week. And we're going to have some conversations after that. If BYU beats Texas Tech, then Big 12 by far over the ACC deserves 2 teams. They just do. I don't think Virginia and Miami are that good. I really don't in doing that. And I think Texas Tech, no matter what, is going to the CFP. I think BYU has to win. And I don't think they deserve to go if they lose again to Texas Tech, even if it's close. Even if it's a close game that I think Texas Tech's going to win. I think they're going to roll them, to tell you the truth. But if it's a close game or if BYU wins, Texas Tech still deserves to go. There's no doubt about it. Number 2. Well, how is number 2? They beat number 1. I still go body of work. I still say if you play each other on a neutral field against Texas A&M, I still think Texas is probably better. They proved it. Texas is hitting all cylinders now. They've really done it the last couple of games. They're starting to find their way. Offensive line has really matured. You see what Arch Manning is when he has time. And Arch has just matured also. He's not made those stupid throws he was making at the beginning of the year. When he was under pressure, the way Baron Morton is going to be under pressure, you saw the mistakes that he made. Is Arch Manning a better quarterback than Baron Morton? Yeah, he is. He's a lot better quarterback. So is Marcel Reed. In my opinion, I like Baron Morton. No, he's a good quarterback. Is he an NFL quarterback? Could be. I don't know. But does Texas have a legit argument for being in the CFP? Sure. Should they be in the CFP? Look, I'll argue all the time as kind of a Texas homer that they legitimately are one of the top 12 teams in the country right now. I don't care what anyone says. In fact, I think they're top 10 or 8, in my opinion, right now. Ahead of Texas Tech. But the loss to Florida, 3 losses, it's hard. There's too many. I'll always go back to this argument. I'll argue for Texas, but once it's over and Texas won't get in because they're not going to get in, I have to stop arguing and quit whining. I can't do it anymore. You lost the 3rd game, and you can't do it. Everybody that's there's too many 10-2 teams that are 10-2. And yes, they played weaker schedules, and they did it, but Texas should have beat Florida. And they went in there and they got beat bad. They looked bad that game. It was horrible. Arch looked bad. They got out coached. I know the swamp is hard to do. So everyone making a case for Texas, it's legit. You have a chance to be. It's a legit argument for Texas. I get it, but Texas isn't going to get in, and you got to eat it and you got to move on. but it doesn't mean I don't think they're the second best team in the state of Texas. They are. That's just my opinion. Now, listen, if Texas Tech goes into this college football play, even if Texas goes and beats, it looks like they're going to play in the Citrus Bowl against Michigan. That's where everyone has them picked. And I think they're going to beat Michigan, but a lot of factors go into those bowl games because guys that are going to the NFL draft might hold themselves out on both sides. Both starting quarterbacks will play because they're coming back next year. But and we'll see what happens there. But even if Texas rolls Michigan and Texas Tech can jump Texas to me by win one. I say they'll win one. We'll see at the end here. I'll tell you where I think they're going to end up and where they're going to be ranked, because I've got my top 12 teams, and then I've got what I think the CFP is going to do, and we'll do that at the end. And I think Texas Tech, depending on how they make a showing there, could change things for me, and we'll talk about that when I get there. Who's number one? Well, obviously number one is Texas A&M. Huge win for Texas over Texas A&M. They kind of did what they did to Texas last year, or to Texas A&M last year. That defense made adjustments at halftime. They smothered Marcel Reed. He made a couple of poor throws at the end. Texas established a running game, and Arch Manning took over the show. And, I'll pat myself on the back on where I was on that, because quite honestly, I thought Texas would win by 14. It's what I predicted last week. They ended up winning by 10. And I also, during the entire game, after Arch threw that touchdown to Trey Wingo, I thought I said right there, Texas will win this game, and I think it's going to be on Arch's legs. They had used Arch a couple of times, but I think I just thought there's going to be some designed Arch plays coming up, and they broke it on the 4th and 2, and Arch went up the middle and outran everyone to the end zone, and that was the nail in the coffin right there, because the defense was really smothering Marcel, and then he threw that second interception, and that was it. But it doesn't disparage the A&M team. I love that A&M is left out of the SEC championship, because I'm a Texas guy, and the Aggies are a big rival, and it's fun for me. But man, oh man, hats off to the Texas A&M Aggies. They are clearly the number one team in the state of Texas. They will stay the number one team in the state of Texas. The fight at the end of all of this, when everything and all the cards are done, are going to be between Texas and Texas Tech. That's where the fight's going to be. If A&M goes in and loses their home game, I don't care. The season they put together was impressive. Their defense is impressive. Marcel was impressive. Mike Elko, impressive. Deserved of the extension he got. And hats off to Texas A&M. Clearly the number one team in the state of Texas. Now, let's move on from there. Who are my top 12 teams that I think are legitimate contenders? Now, let me tell you where I go with mine. And it'll be the Texas College Football Show's top 12, because I'm the one that picks them. I don't think a G5 school should get an automatic bid. I don't think a Power 4 team should get an automatic bid. A Power 4 champion should get an automatic bid. The ACC, to me, doesn't deserve a bid if Duke is playing Virginia in the ACC championship. If Duke wins that game, which they won't, but if they win that game, nobody from the ACC deserves to go. And BYU should be championing right now for Duke. Honestly, they should be championing for Duke, because that's the only way I think that BYU has a chance to get in. That's my opinion. And I'm also not real high on BYU, because I just look at BYU and their athletes, and I don't think their athletes match up not only with Texas Tech, who's obviously more athletic, but they don't really match up with anybody else except the G5 school that'll get in, and any ACC team that gets in. I think they can match up probably with Virginia or Miami if they were to somehow get in and play each other. But that's it. So who are my top 12 teams in order of where I think they rank right now? Ohio State number 1, Georgia number 2. I think Indiana is the third best team. Ole Miss, I still think, is the top 4 team. 11-1. You can argue their schedule and who they played this season, but what happened to Lane Kiffin, it's just sad. I hate it for Ole Miss. I'm of the opinion that I think they should have let Lane try to take this thing home, but I'm also of the opinion that I know it's a rival in your conference, and I understand why they didn't. I I think Ole Miss is a top 4 team, but I think Ole Miss isn't going to make any noise because I don't know who's calling the plays now. Lane and what his little thing that Lane did, he took 4 coaches with him. I don't know who will be calling the plays there. So I don't know. But right now, in my opinion, they're the number 4 ranked team. So obviously, they're Texas A&M's number 5 to me. I think Alabama's number 6. I think number 7 is why do I have Alabama twice? Guys, I'm missing somebody there. My bad. I messed up. I did not have Alabama. I didn't have, you know what? Good Lord. Who did I miss on here? OU. No, I don't think OU is who did I have in here? No, I've got Vanderbilt. Guys, I messed that up. Somehow. Did I put Oregon? I do have Oregon in there. Okay. So obviously Alabama twice. I don't know. If Alabama's out, I guess in that situation, I would move everybody up 1 there. And at my number 12, I would put BYU. That's what I would do. Because I think BYU should get in. And I think BYU is better than Virginia, in my opinion. So if Alabama shouldn't be there, I think Texas is number 7. Texas Tech is number 8. Oregon, number 9. I don't think I think Texas Tech, that might be a team Texas Tech can beat is Oregon. I think they do. Because I don't think Oregon's defense is the greatest defense. Texas Tech would have a good game with Vanderbilt for sure, too. I think so. But I love Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt deserves to be in the college football playoffs, in my opinion. They're going to get left out. But I think they deserve to be in there, too. And then I would put BYU at number 12. That's where I would put it. I'm sorry, guys. I was putting this thing together, and I was going back and forth, and that's my bad. So BYU would get my nod there. On that one, I think BYU would be my 12th team. I don't think a G5 school deserves to be in because I just don't think that they would have a shot. That would be my top 12. That would be my teams that I think could make some noise in the college football playoffs with legitimately probably 4 teams that have a real good chance to run the table. Maybe 5. I'm sorry, 5 teams that would run the table. My top 5, and I would take Ole Miss out of there because I think Ole Miss without Lane Kiffin won't make any noise. But I think you go Alabama, Texas A&M, Indiana, Georgia, and Ohio State legitimately have a shot to win the national championship. And Texas Tech could surprise me. Now, who is going to make the CFP? That's the final question. Here's how I think it all plays out. I think Georgia's going to win the SEC, and that's going to catapult them up to number 2. I think Indiana will drop to number 3. After depending on what happens, if they get blown out by Ohio State, that they'll stay in the top 12, obviously, and that could put them down. But I think it'll be a closer game than we think because Indiana's offense is impressive. I think Texas Tech gets the bye, and I think that they're the number 4 team. I just think they're going to beat BYU. That's my opinion. And that's where I think it's going to go. Ole Miss will get the number 5 seed. I think Oregon 6 and Texas A&M will host also. I think Oklahoma is going to end up, or maybe Notre Dame. I think that could switch there. The most unimpressive team in this field is going to be Virginia and Oklahoma, in my opinion. Well, John, you're a Texas fan, and you just hate Oklahoma. I don't like Oklahoma because I've got Texas ties, but Oklahoma's offense is not impressive right now. Have you seen what they've done? Their defense that's eventually going to catch you. There are teams with defenses just like Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech hangs with Oklahoma. I think Texas Tech can beat it. You know what? I have said all along that I thought Texas Tech would get rolled by some of these SEC teams. Texas Tech can beat Oklahoma because Oklahoma's offense has just been dud. Good Lord. And Oklahoma smothers the run, but their secondary has some issue there. I just think Texas Tech could do that. Now, so I think Oklahoma upsets what happens there. I think Notre Dame will get the number 9. Virginia will win, who can get in. I guess Miami will get in. That's the only way Miami gets in is there. And I don't know that they should. There's an argument for BYU and Miami, but Miami, I don't think they're going to put Notre Dame in and then not put in Miami, who beat Notre Dame. I think that's the issue here and where we end up. And guys, my only homer call in this whole thing is North Texas. I hope North Texas beats Tulane and gets in. And I'm pulling for them. I like my guys up there in Denton. What a season. Yes, you're going to lose your head coach, and I think you're going to get a good one going in. Watch for the name Rashad Samples, the Oregon associate head coach who's from the Metroplex. His dad is the head coach at Duncanville. He's got ties. He coached at SMU. He's been an amazing coach. I think that guy would make some noise there, but it sounds like they're looking at a couple of former head coaches. I think we'll do a show on that and see where they end up. I think that's going to get done pretty quick, maybe before I can get out of the show. That's how I think this thing ends. Who do I think wins the national championship? I think it's going to come down to Georgia and Ohio State. I think those two end up, depending on where they seed, they might end up playing each other in a semifinal. If they end up 1 and 2, they won't. But I think that's who ends up in it. And I just think Ohio State overall is probably the team that does it. I got to be honest with you. That's where I ended up. That's my final for this. We're going to do a lot of previews. I want to do some recap shows and talk about what happened with those teams that didn't make a bowl game. What happened? We'll get some people from their schools to come in and let's talk about it. Preview the bowl games for the ones that are bowl eligible. And kind of go there, and then we'll talk about the playoffs and the bowl games that end up with the ones that don't make the playoffs. I think out of the top 4 that we have there, obviously Texas is not going to make the playoffs, and North Texas is very likely the other team that's got a really, really good shot of not making the playoff. Also, is North Texas. If Tulane wins, they're going to get that 12 spot. If North Texas wins, there are some that will lobby against North Texas and might bring up James Madison. I think beating Tulane for North Texas, and that's 2 schools right there playing in the American Conference Championship whose coaches have moved on. They're both going to schools, but they're both going to get to coach in this game. This has been fun all year. We're going to keep this going during the off season. We're going to follow recruiting. We're going to start a high school game. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff there, guys. Thanks so much for being a part of it. You guys have had fun. Give me all the hell you want to. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tech fans, just wear me out. And you know what, Tech fans? Prove me wrong. I want Texas Tech to go prove me wrong, just like I was wrong about Peyton Manning being a bust in the NFL, and Ryan Leaf would be the star of that. Texas Tech, go prove me wrong. BYU, go prove me wrong. But you're not in the Texas FBS, so it doesn't really matter. Texas A&M, congrats. I say that gritting my teeth. Congratulations on an amazing season, and hats off to you. And you're going to be good coming back next year. I think A&M and Texas both are going to be ranked in the top 10 easily coming back next year. They got their quarterbacks coming back. They've solidified themselves down the stretch. They've got good coaches. It's going to be fun. Texas Tech, I think they're going to end up in the top 15 starting next season. They're losing their quarterback depending on what they do, but boy, they're spending money too. That's another one that's going to be good. And there are going to be some bounce back seasons from this FBS for sure. I think there's going to be some big bounce back seasons for TCU. I think that they're going to be better next year. Looking down that stretch, we'll see what goes on from there. Guys, thanks for being a part of it all season long. We're going to keep this thing rolling. Until next time, we will see you on the gridiron.